Alright, so welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be working on this Tyco Chattanooga GP20. So let me show you how it doesn't run as of now. Alright, so here it is set up on the track. This is what it does. So obviously there's no use in trying to run it more. I think what I'm going to do differently with this one is not actually open up the motor, because I was told this has been a pretty low mileage engine owned by one person. And it sort of sounds like that, aside from just the exterior bearings that I can get to without opening up that plate needing oil. So I'm going to try that. If I have issues, I'll come back and reopen the plate, but we're going to try this a little bit differently. Alright, so let's get to work on this. Did you know that it helps to have tools before you start to get to work? Now I think I can actually start to get to work taking this engine apart to an extent. Like, first off, I'm just going to try and pull this whole clip assembly out of here on both sides. It's been a while, I think, since I've worked on an actual typical Tyco diesel. One of these screws looks like it's been replaced. And also, before we get too deep into this, I am sort of recovering from being sick. So if I sound different or anything, or I'm sniffling a bit, that's why. I am also working on this video just in the break of the next video, because I'm waiting for some parts of a kit's paint to finish drying. If that tells you anything. That video is going to have some interesting editing, because it's not going to be perfect. I wanted to try something different. I'm not liking how it's turning out so far. But I'll still upload it because I put in all the effort so far, and I want to. So now I should, there it is, should be able to get this plate apart. Like, sticky in here. If I can remove the clip out of my way. There we go. I think the solder joint is okay. It was just badly soldered from whoever did this before. So I'm going to leave it alone. However, I will get all these gears off. And yet that pivot gear is our issue. This is a lot dirtier than I was expecting it to be in here. Which is quite odd, considering I was told by the person who had this before me that this was not ran very much. And I am pretty sure I'm going to follow with his story, because he is quite old and said that he actually bought a whole bunch of this stuff new. I think I'm going to use my screwdriver and try and pick out some of this hair and crap first, because that's a lot. That's most of the hair out of it. I think I'm just going to soak the whole thing in rubbing alcohol while I clean it. I am thinking for, like, some future blue boxes and stuff, or maybe even this. I might try it on this. That for, like, these gears and stuff, it might be better to wash them in soapy water. So I am starting to want to try a few different things in videos and stuff. So if you see me start experimenting with some more odd stuff, that's why. I just want to find what's best overall. This is one of the dirtier engines I've worked on in a while. Doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. It's probably been used quite well, despite what I was told. However, I still won't actually open up that plate unless we get issues, just because the motor, aside from the bearing, which is a typical Tyco thing to have happen, didn't sound all that terrible. Alright, so there. Now I think this is pretty much done. I am not going to be using rubbing alcohol on these wheels and axles. I'm going to be trying soap and water on them and a parts toothbrush. So I'll be back once I get a bin of soap and water that I can throw these into and scrub with. Alright, I am now back and I've got all these parts in a tub. I don't know how well you'll be able to see any of this, but I'm just going to try this. It's a tub of soapy water. Let's see how much of the dirt and grime I can get off of some of this stuff just with soap and water. If it doesn't work all that well, I'm going to just use some rubbing alcohol on some of these parts. It's just a little bit of a cleanup. I'm also going to need to find a better way in the future to attempt to do this, if I want to continue doing so. Yeah, this is doing a little bit of something. I'll let that soak in a little bit more, though. That big truck cover I might have to let soak in a little bit more. I'm not actually sure how much of an overall impact this will have, but if it is substantial enough, I'll at least do this part-time, or at least do this before I give some of these parts a final showing of rubbing alcohol and the Q-tip on this channel, because rubbing alcohol and Q-tip seems a little bit more wasteful than just cleaning up with this. I think that's good. Can also tell that this water has gotten significantly dirtier since this has started, which is a good sign. Again, I'm going to go over most of the stuff again with rubbing alcohol just a little bit to make sure I get everything possible off of it. I think I've got the big gear and the little pivot gear, and then I've got to clean up the big truck cover. The only issue with this is that some of the stuff has got to dry. Pivot gear, I don't think I really need to scrub that hard. And there, I'll clean this mess up and dry these pieces off and come back once I get them all dried off. Alright, now that I'm back, I'm going to give all these parts just a quick little once-over of rubbing alcohol and see if there's any more dirt or anything that comes off of them, because I'm interested to see how well of a job this did. Honestly, that did pretty good. It only missed some of the smaller spots, which is a bit expected. Like the little teeth and stuff like that. I think for most of these parts, it'll be just perfectly fine. Yeah, I got just about everything off that gear. I think that gear too. I think one of these wheel sets was significantly dirtier on the end after I dried them off, so we'll see. Yeah, it was this one. There was quite a bit of stuff on the end of this. I just don't think I scrubbed on there good enough. I think normally, in just any normal situation, soap and water could have gotten that off. Like, it got the truck cover pretty well, and this wastes a lot fewer Q-tips. On the back truck, since it isn't as significant, I'll just do with a Q-tip or two. So now I think what this means is I can start putting this all back on here. Which means I get to put just the tiniest drops of oil on these pivot ends. That's what I'm going to call them. There. Almost forgot about these. Sorry, I just had that other gear. There it is. It was hiding under the engine. And this is something I'll have to wait a little bit on once I figure out wherever I put the stupid gear itself. Which, yeah, once I find it again, I will glue the pivot gear onto here. And then I will be back once that's glued on, because that'll take a little while to dry. While I wait for the pivot gear to dry, I might as well just open up in here and clean that quickly on a time-lapse. So here's just a quick little time-lapse of that. That was a lot more work than expected. I was not expecting it to be that dirty. I think someone before me way over lubricated it. So now we're going to lubricate it much less ridiculously, I think. There. Now I think the easiest way for me to go about this is going to be to reattach this clip and then put the whole assembly back into the shell. Looks like I have accomplished that. It doesn't want to go very much in one specific direction, but I don't think that'll be a huge issue. So now we just gotta oil up these wheels and put them back in, and then we can test this thing out. Ah, that's an issue. I will get this pointed the right way around and have this reinstalled, and we'll go test it. Alright, so I've got this Chattanooga GP20 all reassembled and set back up on the track, so let's see if it does anything. Well, that's good. It's not even a lot of power either. Backwards isn't so great. But it is pretty quiet for a Tyco, too. Either the track in some spots or the wheels need cleaning of this engine, but, like, I don't think that's too terrible. I'll clean the wheels, run it in, clean the track, see if it gets any better. Alright, so I got it run in a little bit, and now it's actually doing really well. It's stumbling at the same exact spots each time. I think I have a few bad areas on this layout. Sort of temporary layout. I need to redo my actual layout soon. But I don't think this is bad. It's running at about 60% power, and for that, I think this is pretty good. So, thanks for watching. If you want to go watch the video where I got this thing, go find it.